second largest French city. So there are as many proms as there can be in Paris anyway. But we're lucky in Montpellier just to have still have a quiet place. We have pickpockets too, so when visiting Montpellier I will remind you to watch out for pickpockets, even if it looks quiet and very laid back. Well, better safe than sorry, so I will ask you in the second part of the talking too much?
No.
That's okay.
Good.
So do you have any questions about maybe the area and what you've seen so far, something you would like to know about France? Well, if it's not a difficult question or not too touchy, maybe I'll try to answer, but well, there are topics that are a bit sensitive.
This is Villeneuve.
Anyway. So if you will taste some wine, and you can purchase, of course, the wine at the wine estate. I would recommend you to do so, as you have tasted the wine already, and it's much easier to choose from, of course, after tasting. They have a good selection of wines. They're reputed. They have an appellation is because it's grown on the territory and has to comply with a lot of rules. It's great. It's imported olive oil from mostly Spain or Tunisia or Northern Africa. So French olive oil is rare to find in supermarkets. You have to go to specialized, very specific or fine shops, and the price of olive oil, French olive oil, is on average, minimum price is about 20 euros per liter, or more 25 euros. It contains a lot of vitamins and qualities for a year, then it decreases. But it's a very fine quality oil, which is used usually to season the food, because it's quite, the taste is quite strong and has a lot of antioxidants, antioxidant. Well, a lot of vitamins too. So it's something you won't see in the shops, because it's not the area. The area where most of our olive oil is made is further east in this area, which is not far away from Montpellier, but which is an hour away by a car from So Villeneuve-les-Maguelones is here, a village south of Montpellier. If you look at a lot of people commute, actually do not live in Montpellier, which has become quite expensive when it comes to real estate. So a lot of people would rather live outside, in the countryside by the sea. And Villeneuve-les-Maguelones was where, first in the Middle Ages, where the cathedral was. Not in Montpellier, the cathedral, that is the bishop's headquarters, were here. So there's a very old cathedral here in the middle of the ponds. You can see here to the right the sign in French, Villeneuve-les-Maguelones, and there's another sign which was right under, which was in the local vernacular language, which is Oxbridge. It's just like further east, Provençal language is a local dialect. It's a Latin-based dialect. So in the past, people didn't speak French until the end of the 19th century. A lot of people spoke Occitan. Occitan sounds a bit like, it's a mix of Latin languages. It looks like Spanish. It sounds a bit like a mix of Spanish. Occitan language to the kids. So our most alive and is attached to many traditions. So this is why it's still alive, because there are still a lot of traditions when it comes especially to a bull. Bull is an important animal up to here, actually up to Montpelier. Bull races can be found. So the bull is not set free in the city, or there are many barriers, and now there are many the bull's horns. So such bull races, courses camarguaises, are not forbidden, and the bull is not hurt, the bull is not injured. It's just traumatized for about half an hour, doesn't know what's going on, and then is sent back to the fields. So in Camargue. Camargue is further east. I don't know if you've heard of Camargue. Camargue is a very flat area where the Rhone Delta is. And it is part of Provence. We won't see Camargue, but actually we're not far away from here if we were to continue straight on, further east. And there are a lot of bull farms there. The slaughterhouses of those bull farms used to be in Montpelier. There no longer are, but the bulls are reared for several years on very large farms. They're outside, they graze fresh grass, quality meat. The most aggressive bulls are selected to participate to those bull races. There are also bullfights, especially in Arles and Nîmes, two old Roman towns which still have beautiful Roman arenas or amphitheaters. So this is also part of the tradition, but there are a lot of people against bullfights for different reasons, but and a lot of people in favor. So we don't, for the time being, bullfights are not banned in France, and bulls are killed at the end of the show. So yeah, this is part of the many traditions of the south of France, Provence, up to here. So you can see many ponds. Sometimes we can even see here, oh, they're here, flamingos to the right. Can you see them? Yes. They're not bright pink. They're European flamingos. They have pink leaves, but they're not as bright pink as the ones that can be seen in America. So a lot of different bird species. This is a protected area here. Most of the flamingos are actually further east in Camargue, but there was a flock here. There were quite many of them, and they do not all migrate. They migrate if the weather is too cold or if they don't have enough food. But a lot of them stay here in winter. In winter time, if the conditions are good, or if the bird cannot. It is beautiful sea resorts, very nice food, accommodation for a cheaper price. So, well, a lot of people choose to go to Spain instead of France. And but these sea resorts, you will see, and the next one we'll see far away in the distance, were built in the 1960s, from the end of the 1960s, to compete with the Spanish sea resorts, because in the past year, some 50 years ago, there were no sea resorts here in these parts. It was just very, very wild. So, which meant that a lot of people instead would go to Spain. Spain is still cheaper and very good, and I understand spend their holidays there. Because well, here is quite expensive, and restaurants are not always very good. Anyway, there are very good restaurants, but when it comes to sea resorts, they don't always make an effort. So this is something that should be, in my opinion, improved. Anyway, we're now driving north to Montpelier, to Flaugerges. So if you look at the car plates, the number here of the department is 34, and we have the names of the departments of France. France is divided into regions. Regions are divided into counties, departments, and they're listed by alphabetical order. So we're now here in the Hérault department. Hérault with the H letter is 34 on the position on the list. So Hérault is the name of the main river of the department, so it's 34. Marseille is 13. Marseille is located in Bouches-du-Rhône, the mouth of the river Rhône, so B letter, so on the 13th position. So looking at the car plates, you know where the cars come from, and here you can see many local cars. Number 34 is written to the right, the very far end of the car plates, and there's a little picture, also red picture, which represents the regional flag, Occitanie. About 2 years ago, 3 years ago now, the two regions merged in order to save money. So before here was Languedoc-Roussillon, and Montpelier was the main city, was the capital of the region. We're no longer the capital of the region, as now the region has merged with Midi-Pyrénées, and Midi-Pyrénées, Languedoc-Roussillon has become Occitanie region, so maybe you'll see the red flags on the way. Occitanie is a very, very large region now, which includes Toulouse. Toulouse, you've heard of Airbus company and all the suppliers. So Airbus is the main industry in Toulouse, and Toulouse is the capital of this region. But Toulouse is quite a long way from Montpellier. It takes by train, it takes about 2.5 hours. By car is about 3 hours. So our capital is quite far away. But Montpellier doesn't need Toulouse, and there's actually some rivalry or competition between the two towns, the two cities. Toulouse being, Montpellier being 275,000 inhabitants. Toulouse is a bit more than 350, well, I think it's about 400,000 inhabitants now. So, yeah, we're approaching Flaugerges. You can see here, well, some high-speed train lines. The TGV connects Montpellier to Marseille. Alors, there's no high-speed train to Marseille from here, actually, but there are high-speed trains to Lyon and Paris. Paris being the capital and the biggest French city, of course. And from Montpellier it takes about, let me think, it's 3.5 hours from Montpellier to Paris. And from Montpellier to Lyon is only 2 hours. Lyon being the second largest French city. Marseille are the biggest cities, and this is where the first train line was built. Paris, Lyon, Marseille. So from here to Marseille takes by train 2 hours, to Lyon 2 hours, Toulouse 2.5 hours, and 3.5 hours to Paris. So this is, we're very well here connected to the main, to four other main cities. The rest of France doesn't count. Well. So what you can see to the left is a brand new district, Port Marianne. Well, there's a small marina. This is why it's called Port, harbor. But this is brand new Montpellier to the left. This is not what we're going to visit. They're mostly condominiums and living apartments. What we will see is much, much older. So don't worry, you're not going to see a brand new architecture. We'll see something much more interesting and old than what can be seen from the highway. So many, there was always many cars and trucks, and it's a very busy highway here. They doubled the lanes actually further to the right. The thing is that there are a lot of trucks to Spain. This is the way to Spain, so a lot of trucks have to cross this part of France to reach other parts of Europe. Well, July, left alone July and August, where there are so many visitors here and on their way to Spain. so it was decided to enlarge. We have now this part and another part not far away from here to have more, let's say, lanes, and because traffic can just be hell here, especially in the summer month. So bouchon means traffic jam, but don't worry, we're just going to exit in a few seconds. So bouchon is usually not a good, except for wine, because bouchon means also tap or cork. It means bouchon, traffic jam, cork, or a restaurant, especially in the area of Lyon. If you've ever been in Lyon, bouchon refers to a local restaurant serving food specialties. Well, we have IKEA, just like in any big cities. Well, to the left, and this is where people are very fond of buying furniture and so many other things. So IKEA is very big in France too. And well, this is here the commercial area of Montpelier. So you can see vineyards are never far away. Some here. And very soon we'll see the ones of the Flaugerges wine estate. If we were to drive further east towards, well, to Provence, well, on the way there would be other sea resorts. The most famous one being, not the one I mentioned earlier on, Maguelone-les-Avignon or Palavas, but there's a funny one, La Grande Motte, the big hill, not far away from here, and it was built from scratch back at the end of the 1960s, and there are a lot of pyramids. The architecture is made of pyramids, well, inspired by Mexican, pyramids, and yeah, it's the architecture is very interesting, very funny there. The thing is that insulation is really bad. It's on such buildings, so a lot of people stay there in the summer season, but most of the buildings the apartments are vacant throughout the year because it's impossible to heat. There's a lot of wind, and well, there's not much happening there by the sea in the low season. So for those of you who do not drink wine, there will be water for sure. But again, before we taste the wine, we're going to have a tour of the estate. You will visit the castle. There's no lift in the castle. There are quite a few steps, but well, if you don't want to go up the stairs, well, you don't have to. It's not very high anyway. It's not a very high, big castle. So if you have any difficulties, we'll try and avoid the steps as much as we can. In the castle, there will be quite a few steps, but you don't have to climb up the steps if you don't want to. What else should you know? Oh, it's a lovely place. It's still run by the family, and I guess we'll see the family owners there. The grandfather, the grandmother, the whole family works there, and very hard-working people, and they're passionate people. So they have still their wine estate, make excellent wine, and they also have a restaurant every for lunch, open for lunch every day of the week, the working week. It's one of the places called Folie, crazy places. Well, crazy in the sense that back from the 17th century, rich people, the production of wine, had beautiful private mansions built called châteaux, castles. And these castles were considered as folies, as, just Provence and the French Riviera. But there are so many more authentic places, including Montpelier and further west, I just love, and I discovered not so long ago. Not being from this part of France, I come from the Loire Valley. and I spent a lot of time in Lyon discovering the Alps, Burgundy, Beaujolais area, which is a lovely place. Well, the very southwest was unknown to me, and I discovered so many beautiful villages in the surroundings of Montpelier, surroundings of Toulouse, where the food is good and not as expensive as it can be in Provence or on the French Riviera. Anyway. So we'll be there in a few minutes. You can leave whatever you do not need during this tour on the bus. Frédéric will lock the bus. If you want to buy wine again at the end of the tour, it will be possible at the shop. There will be toilets. Before we start the tour, we'll take 5 minutes for the toilets. They may be not other groups, but usually they have companies rent a few rooms. So if you see other people, there must be a company gathering, a seminar. But the toilets will be available. There should be 2 toilets available. Well, many toilets, but two different places, 2 different restrooms. So before we even start the tour, will take some time, and you can use, of course, the restrooms whenever you want. We're going to stay for about an hour and 30 minutes, and then we'll drive to downtown Montpellier. So in the past, there used to be vineyards here belonging to the estate we're going to see next, and then, well, they had to sell their estate, their vineyards, so that companies could settle down here. So mostly